Hello and welcome to Admissions Live, the weekly web show for admissions professionals. We are part of the Higher Ed Live network, which is all about professional development. We're about digital empowerment, and we've got Rob Engelsman on tonight's show. We're talking about yesterday's HighEdWeb Syracuse conference. It's a regional conference as part of the larger organizational annual conference set. So I'm looking forward to hearing Rob's reaction from yesterday, and I'm going to pick his brain a little bit about his presentation that he gave. But before we do that, we have to give a great big thank you to our sponsors that make Admissions Live possible. Admissions Live is sponsored by Scavenger, a Google-funded mobile game about going places, doing challenges, and earning points. Florida State uses Scavenger for orientation, welcome week, and other events to engage students. So head on over. We just set out a link to more information about this Florida State deal that they're doing with Scavenger. Check that out. Admissions Live is sponsored by Zinch. Zinch.com is offering a special presentation of recent trends in e-recruitment this Wednesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 a.m. Pacific. Join Zinch's college admissions experts Bob Patterson and Gil Rogers as they share survey findings on the ever-growing group of high school students who are using social media and other platforms to inform their decision about the college process. For more information, you can email outreach@zinch.com or tweet at socialadmission. We've also sent out a link to that webinar. Admissions Live is sponsored by Integral, your destination for social media research in higher education. Check out their recent research on their research website, which is the Class of 2016 Community Analysis, and you can learn how creating communities for incoming students can improve admissions yield. Last but certainly not least this week, Admissions Live is sponsored by Welcome to College, who believe it's all in the visit. And they've created web and mobile applications to help institutions measure and manage their most critical recruitment tool, the college visit. Visit www.welcometocollege.com to learn more about their program and to become a college partner, or you can tweet at Welcome to College about a demo. That's their Twitter handle would be welcome2college. So certainly go ahead and check out all of those fantastic sponsors that make my show possible. Tonight we've got Rob Engelsman coming over the interwebs from Ithaca College, and I want to give a big thank you out to him for joining me. I know we had a long day yesterday. Rob is the multimedia content specialist at Ithaca. He spoke at yesterday's conference, and we were at Syracuse University together for it. His presentation was a social media toolkit, and it definitely got me thinking about organizing my own social media goals. So we're going to chat a little bit about that. We're going to recap the conference, but without further ado, I want to bring Rob onto the show and say thank you again for joining me.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so I just want you to give folks out there a quick background, how you came to be at this conference with me yesterday, what you're doing over at Ithaca.
Yeah, so I actually started working for Ithaca College's Office of Marketing Communications when I was a student. They asked me to come in and work on some stuff, and at the time they didn't have anyone who was formally running the social media as a permanent role. And obviously, the last couple of years, that's something that's totally changed in how higher ed looks at things. So I started, I wasn't terrible at it, and so when it came time to graduation, they asked me to stick around, and so I did, and that was a little over a year ago. My first higher ed conference was the Rochester Regional last year. And so it was nice to come in this year and get a chance to speak and kind of see how things have changed for some people and learn some new things as well.
Awesome. Are there any other conferences that are kind of on your radar, or is this HighEdWeb group of conferences the one that's right in your wheelhouse?
I actually went to the 140Qs Regional earlier in April, and I really loved that. My attention span isn't great, so those 10-minute chunks are really nice. And that was actually in the same exact room as 140, the HighEd Regional, so it was kind of a nice little change of pace in the same space.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we're going to talk about the format because it did kind of have that 140 conference feel to it. But for those folks that aren't familiar with HighEdWeb, it is a huge set of conferences that's available to higher education web professionals, and that kind of spans a really big group of folks. Now, Rob and I work a lot in the social media space, but there are really highly technical presentations at these conferences. There's usually a marketing and social media track. There's usually a content track. Sure, there are others that I'm forgetting, but it brings really great people together every year. At the annual conference, we're going to send a tweet out to those of you that might be interested in attending the annual conference, which is the large one. This year it's in Milwaukee, and I was fortunate enough to attend the annual conference last year in Austin, Texas, which was fantastic. And then they also do these smaller regional conferences. So just like Rob said, there was one in Rochester last year, and actually my first introduction to all of these great HighEdWeb folks was at a regional conference as well. I went to the one at Vassar College. So they're great if they are in your region. There's another one coming up in Arkansas, and that one, it still has registration open. So I'll send out the link to that regional conference too. That one's a little bit bigger than the Syracuse conference was, but let's get talking about what we were up to yesterday. So the structure was a little bit different than last year. Last year there were 2 tracks at Rochester.
Yes, I think there were 2.
Yeah, so yesterday there was just 1 track, but they did separate the kind of sessions so that you kind of could pack more in. And in the morning it was 40-minute sessions, and after lunch they came back with these lightning round sessions that were shorter. It was 10 minutes per session, and then a couple of 40-minute sessions to kind of wrap up the day. And I thought that went really well. What did you think?
Actually, you just completely cut out, and I didn't hear anything you just said.
Cool, awesome.
Which I'm sure is really helpful for this. But
just asking what you thought of those 10-minute.
I really liked the back and forth, and it was nice to kind of kick into the second part of the afternoon with a bit of a faster pace, and I kind of paced it up through the afternoon, which helped me at the end because people were alive and awake and enthusiastic. And I think that was what you asked, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. And I apologize, maybe I'll try some headphones for you. But we did come back after lunch with these shorter sessions, and I almost prefer that, I think, to separate tracks because I got to be exposed to a lot of topics that I might not have chosen had they separated those out. Are you having any trouble hearing me, or do you think I should try these? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? Okay.
Sorry, this is not working for me. With all that stuff, and you mentioned before, there's a lot of people that spoke yesterday that I was not really good at understanding. But what was really nice is that you can really see the passion that people have for all of the different aspects of higher ed. Because like you said, we're mostly in social, but the track, if I had been last year, would have been just directly social.
Right.
But this year it was nice because it was actually a chance for me to see a lot of different things I wouldn't have heard about, a lot of ideas, and you never know what could spark your next good idea, even if it's not something directly related to one of the presentations.
Yeah, spot on, absolutely. So let's start talking about the conference speakers. They started out with a keynote speaker from Syracuse University's iSchool, Jill Hurst-Wall, and her presentation was called "The Impact of BYOD on Higher Ed," but I thought it was kind of more of a spin on digital literacy than it was on that BYOD, which is bring your own device. So she talked a lot about digital literacy in the presentation. That's what I took away from it. I don't know what your thoughts were, Rob.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it as a great way to kind of frame the conversation of the whole day. Talking about digital literacy is something that I think we get lost on sometimes just because we're in it every single day. And so we kind of forget how privileged we are to have that opportunity and to have especially in terms of what Jill was talking about, the chance to have an upbringing where we have that kind of access. She mentioned, there's like 2.5 million people in New York State that still don't have internet access, and that's the kind of thing you don't normally think about, and
Right.
something that was definitely important to me to think about a little bit more, and I think anybody that works in our area to think about.
Yeah, and that hits home for me in admissions as well, as we're recruiting prospective students, and a lot of time we're trying to get away from the direct mail and the cost that it takes to mail things out, and rely more on digital assets. But we do have to think about those students that maybe only have access to the computers that are in their school, and whether it's in their school might be limited. So yeah, that is a really great point that she made. I'm sending out a blog post from her and her slides. So for those of you that weren't able to make it to the conference, we've got those slides up for you. We got a lot of speakers to cover, so we're kind of going to run through all of these. The next up was the sessions, the morning session speakers, and Tanya Oak-Smith on Twitter. She is AKA'd Marley's mom. She was up first, and her session was "We're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat," and it was about crisis communication, kind of a Jaws parody. What did you think about that one, Rob?
I really enjoy at Marley's mom and the kind of stuff she can bring to the table, and that crisis conversation is something. It's easy to say that right now, even more than any other time, it's really important that we should be having that conversation, given a lot of the crises that have been going on in higher ed. But I think taking a step back and defining what really makes a crisis is really important, and that's something that is easily lost on us, and especially, as she mentioned, speaking at some places where football is the end-all be-all, what a crisis is can change definitions very easily between different institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things I took away from that presentation was her focus on the positive outcome of a crisis and how much that can really change, and the unity that comes after a crisis. I thought was a nice way to put a spin on that probably very tasking effort that is crisis communication. Also, the other one was that it was okay to say, "I don't know," and that it's better to say, "I don't know," than to not say anything at all, as folks are searching for their, for that information that you may or may not have. That was one that I'll remember. So I've got a story.
Yeah, I mean, how many times have you seen a politician in the news, say "I don't know," or not comment on something and have it not work out for them very well? But just being able to say "I don't know," or "We're trying to figure it out," or "We'll get back to you with an answer soon," something like that. It shows that you're invested in the conversation at the least.
Yeah, definitely. And we just sent out a Storify that was really awesome, that Marley's mom put together, that Tanya put together. And so we've got that out there for you. You can see not only her slide link that's at the bottom of the Storify, but the conversation that was being had on the back channel. So that was really cool for her to do. The next person up was Marcelo Practico from Syracuse University about going mobile at SU. And this one, I mean, mobile is all of the rage right now, all of the buzz. It's what we're all thinking about. So glad to see a mobile session in there in the morning. And his was really different than what I was looking at the Penn State Web Conference. So that was pretty cool too. And it was more of this like icon-driven mobile navigation, more like a mobile app looking approach to mobile web. And that's really different than the responsive design that a lot of people are talking about right now. So thoughts on his presentation, and if you have any thoughts of that kind of an approach to mobile versus responsive, or if that is just too crazy to think about and we just need to get mobile no matter what.
So this spring here at Ithaca, we actually went through this process, and it was interesting. In our minds, an app was never really part of the conversation. We pretty much wanted to go straight. We knew with mobile, getting a mobile website was first, just because that has access for all the users. And so we worked through all of these problems and what icons do we want to put on the homepage and things like that. So getting to see those conversations and how they went at Syracuse was really nice. And there were definitely some similarities and also some differences in terms of what we wanted to put together as a team here. We actually went with more of an admissions-based focus for our mobile website. So admissions has an icon and visiting the college has an icon and things like that, whereas it might not be as prevalent at other places. In terms of responsive and things like that, it's moving so fast, and that's what I love about what we do, but it's also really hard about what we do because it always seems like there's something newer and cooler that comes out right after you decide you're going to do the new cool thing that's already out there. I'm interested to see what happens with responsive. But in terms of our mobile site, we're pretty happy with how it's turned out. We tried to mix that icon-based imagery with also some other things that we thought would be helpful for mobile users, and we've gotten a good response here. So it was nice to see how Syracuse went about those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, awesome. I agree. We have a similar kind of approach at RIT, and we worked with Modo Labs, which is some of the examples that he was showing in his presentation were Modo Labs. So I'm very familiar with the approach that they took. Our students really like it. It's not the admissions first approach, though. So definitely something that I'm considering as we decide as an undergraduate admissions office how to move forward. So that one, again, another great presentation. I didn't catch the next one because I was prepping for my own. So you're going to take the wheels on this one. Next presentation that was up was a 10-minute WordPress shortcode. I think Curtis might have submitted this one for the lightning round and got chosen for a 40-minute presentation because we love him so much. But Curtis Gramala from the University of Mary Washington presented, and I didn't see it. So what was that one all about?
Well, yeah, I am not a highly technical person, so this presentation was another great example of me seeing and hearing a lot about stuff I don't have experience with, and that it fascinated me how easy Curtis makes these things sound when I'm looking at them and they look so complicated and so complex. But basically, he did go through a 10-minute way to build a shortcode, and then also how to build some widgets out of that, which is where you added the extra time into the presentation. But it was very, very, in terms, apparently, it wasn't that technical. But I guess it comes down to your experiences, because for me it kind of blew my mind out of the water just a little bit. I know he posted a little post today about it and was a little maybe worried that it blew some brains, but I think it was in a good way, and it really reminded me of the limitations of something like social media, where I'm working with websites that other people have control of and change every day, like a Facebook that changes every second, it feels like, and there's whole different mindset from people that are helping build the sites that we have and that we control.
Yeah, and I saw that post. I actually just tweeted that out. Curtis melting our brains at HighEdWeb Syracuse, and I also have his slides out there for you folks that are following along in the back channel. If you're watching us in the archives, of course, you've got the links right down at the bottom of our post. Next up was me. I brought one of my social student ambassadors with me this year to present about our social group, our team that we've got rolling. It's a similar presentation to what I did last year at the regional conference in Rochester. But this year I was fortunate enough to be able to bring Tanner Newcomb with me to present, and we presented This Is Not a Facebook Session, an ode to my love for Facebook, along with some of the highlights and some of the projects that we've been working on this year and why we do what we do. So I'm going to tweet out slides. I'm also going to have to give a huge shout out to Tanner for helping me yesterday. I think he kind of stole the show. I'm not going to lie.
He threw in that Instagram joke, and I kind of everyone really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I really like seeing what you guys are doing at RIT because it gives me a better idea of what's going on out there. We and I think we're going to talk about this a little more, have very different sets of student employees sort of right now, and I think it makes for interesting conversations, and you certainly helped set the table for me a little later, so I didn't have to explain as much, which was kind of nice because my presentation was going to run long otherwise. So thank you, Ashley, for that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks a lot. I'm loving the back channel comments right now. So apparently Curtis did not submit his presentation for 10 minutes. He submitted it for 45. So he couldn't have possibly packed all of that into a 10-minute presentation, and I believe you after hearing all of the feedback so far. So I was the last session right before lunch, broke for lunch, and came back for these lightning round sessions. And the lightning speakers started off with Robin Smale from Firebrand Tribe, and she shotgunned the awesome for us. And if you don't know Robin, if you haven't heard her speak before, she packed a whole lot of great stuff into her 10-minute presentation. I'm looking for her slides, so if anyone has seen her slides, send them my way. What did you think of that one? I think she helped you out a little bit with some of the things that you were going to explain in your presentation too, right?
Yeah, Robin's funny because she's the kind of person where you're happy the internet exists so you can look at the slides again later.
Yes.
I'm really grateful I didn't have to sit there and write everything down.
Yes.
And in terms of the things she's presented, it was a great cross-section of great, very simple tools that people can use to just upgrade their social media and their editing and their photo work and all those sorts of things. It was very varied, and that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, those slides are like gold. So we're going to find them. We'll get them up on the archive site. We'll tweet them out when we get them, Robin. Yeah, there was a lot of awesome in there, and there was a lot of new things for me. So I love when I can find new tools that are going to help me do things faster or better or more organized. And she had a lot of that going on. The next lightning round presentation I also really loved. It was developing content and department-focused suggestions with Google AdWords. And it was Chris McCarthy from SUNY ESF. And I absolutely loved this rant on faculty because that was a lot of what it was. He made some really good points about using Google AdWords on current sites and showing your constituents what is actually happening behind the scenes, how people are finding your page, what they're searching for, to kind of deter them and to thinking your way. So it was a great 10-minute presentation, and I've got a PDF that's up on EduUniverse that he posted there from his presentation, so I'll tweet that one out.
Yeah, it was. It definitely brought the energy, and I enjoyed it. Sometimes I think we need to hear the attitude of a student who's tried to help and nobody's been listening to them.
Yes.
And I certainly was lucky enough that when I took over social media here as a student, that I didn't face as many closed doors as it seems that he did when he was doing his trying to do his good work and good deeds at ESF.
Yeah, absolutely. The next one up, as we kind of move through these here, was Archiving Web News, a case study. And that was Sven Oz from Mount Holyoke College. I thought this was a lot of really helpful information for news folks, but also for myself, or anyone that has to think about archiving digital content and where that's going to go. And so as a non-news person, I thought it was really interesting, and especially the way he was archiving digital assets in a really searchable way. So that's another presentation I'm looking for. And I believe Sven said he's going to be doing kind of a more in-depth version of this presentation in Milwaukee this year at HighEdWeb.
So really it was just a big teaser to annoy us all into wanting to know more information before Milwaukee.
Right. That's right. So maybe we won't get those slides. The next one that was up was The Evolution of Consciousness and the Virtual Mind by Paul Otzen, again of SUNY ESF. They were representing yesterday. This is a very philosophical presentation, and the next one was a little philosophical for me too, but Paul's great, and the presentation was a nice kind of break from the technical and kind of look at the philosophical. Do you have any thoughts on Paul?
The former religious studies minor in me loved that presentation very much, just because of the very out there roundabout way of thinking about a very simple question. And it was kind of cool to see how he tied it all back into what we are trying to do every day and how there is a big picture to it all. And it was nice to see him see that there are people out there that are thinking about it in that sort of way.
Absolutely, absolutely. The next one that was up in the last of the lightning round session was I was promised mobile learning and flying cars, and that was Andrew Smick from Sheridan College, and I loved this immediately when I saw the title, because we were all promised flying cars, and where the heck are they? But it again reminds you of the incredible technology that we have at our fingertips and what I didn't have when I was growing up. He, again, I thought did a really great job just trying to focus us in on what is mobile learning, what mobile learning is not, and where we have to think to go in the right direction to kind of make learning more dynamic, more accessible. And he had great examples from his kids. Those were really, those blew me away. Though you might not be able to hear me from your reaction, but one of the examples he gave of his kids were doing homework in their tree houses, using FaceTime, using a chalkboard, two students using FaceTime to solve math problems on a chalkboard, and then emailing in their problems to their teacher. Is this going on in high school? Is this going on in middle school? I wasn't too sure, but that blew me away. Just thinking about how K through 12 might be more innovative than higher ed is in some of these spaces.
Yeah, and what's you really got to think about, even when I was growing up, and I'm, I guess, on the younger end of the sort of professional realm right now, imagining a little baby wanting to play with daddy's cell phone or the iPad, and there's games that are built for that, and I think it also kind of brought it back to that digital literacy question from the very beginning, and what are we building these tools for, and are we using them the right way? And I think there's some very interesting thoughts along that lines in that little presentation.
Definitely. So we then had two last sessions, two of the 40-minute sessions to wrap up the day. The first one was Stop Posting Fuzzy Pie Charts, Better Data Visualization with JavaScript, and that was Dave DeMello from Cornell, the ILR college at Cornell. And this was an accessibility presentation, specifically for visually impaired folks who are navigating our websites. And at RIT, I deal with a large deaf and hard of hearing population, so accessibility for them is always on my mind. The visually impaired folks, unfortunately, are not as much of a priority on my list as they should be. Now, I'm not developing websites like he is, but it is something to think about while we're planning content. If we're going to be planning a lot of this graphical content, how is that going to get read to someone through a screen reader? So he showed me things I had never seen before, and that was really awesome. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was one of those where I'm not necessarily in the in my wheelhouse to understand, but it just astonishes me the types of things that we can do, and for that one to come right back after the I was promised mobile learning and flying cars presentation, kind of a nice little back-to-back of these are the things you can do and that we can be doing to help people, versus the other way around, and how that sort of learning can be done in today's society.
Awesome. Yep. So the last but not least presentation of the day was you, Rob. It was you. And your presentation was called $1 Million Tweety, my social media toolkit. Are you still having some sound issues with me? No, I've got an echo. Yep. All right. Rob can't hear me.
I'm getting a word about every 10 seconds right now, so I can talk about my presentation. But social media, $1 Million Tweety, I really just wanted to kind of look at where I've been and where Ithaca's been with social media for the last 2 years now, 18 months or so. And we've been trying to do a lot with changes over time in terms of what we're trying to do and what goals we're trying to set, what voice we're trying to present. And so I kind of gave a little recap of that, and then hopefully threw in some interesting little tidbits here and there that could help out with that conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. I really enjoyed your presentation. I wasn't sure what to expect out of the $1 Million Tweety title, but I get it now. If you can hear me, do you want to explain exactly what $1 Million Tweety means for folks that didn't get to see the presentation?
Yeah, well, it kind of came from there's a misconception out there, a misperception out there, and it comes with a lot of younger people and using the internet now, is that it's really hard to find where people are tweeting things or what people are saying online, and there's a really big problem with what people think is private and what they don't. So it's a lot easier than it used to be to curate these conversations and to find the pieces of them that fit together. So apparently we were doing that a little too well, and a student noticed that, and some conversation got started somewhere where they thought that we were spending millions upon millions of dollars to create this world that we've created, and obviously that's not true. I wouldn't mind if I was getting paid millions and millions of dollars, but that's unfortunately not happening. Maybe this video can help me one day do that.
That's right.
With social media. But for now, it's just some simple searches and some simple lists and just keeping an eye on the conversation. And that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, and some of the things that you're doing organizationally for yourself to meet your goals were really helpful for me. So I definitely took away a lot from the presentation. I got my screen flashing a little bit now. Okay. Here we go. Again, awesome presentation. I sent out the slides for your presentation, got that slide deck up, and it comes with bonus content. So for those of you that weren't at the conference yesterday, you get his slides plus bonus content. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure if you want to share what that is or if it's...
Yeah, I'm just a giver, really, is what it is. Now, there are some things that I alluded to that I didn't get a chance to mention and stuff like that. So I threw in a couple extra links. There's a couple videos in there that I didn't get to share, and I tried to help summarize some of the conversation a little bit more that got truncated in the presentation form. I'm also very much a person that will say things in a presentation I hadn't planned on saying, and I wanted to try and keep it fair for people that were looking at it online. So I tried to backtrack and add some of those extra little tidbits in as well.
Awesome. So that is one to definitely check out whether you were at the conference or not. And as we wrap up here, if anyone has questions about HighEdWeb, questions for us, please send out your tweets now. We're going to be wrapping up the show in just a few minutes. Before we do that, I got to give a huge thank you to the committee that put the regional conference together. We're going to put out a big friend follow for all of the committee chairs from Syracuse. Let's see, I gotta check my list so I don't mess this up. JD Ross from the iSchool, Aaron Knight from SUNY ESF representing, Katie Lemanchik from the iSchool as well. We had Tim Netkritz from SUNY Oswego, Lori Packer from down the road from me. Hi, Lori, I know you're watching. From U of R, and Michelle Tarby from Lemoyne College, all worked to make this an awesome conference, great reception, great people, and we thank them so much for doing that. Doesn't seem like we have any questions, any, people dying to hear more about what we did in our lives yesterday, but I had a great time, and I hope to attend another regional conference soon. Do you have any plans for other conferences coming up this year?
I'm not sure. I haven't really thought about that yet. We're bad at thinking ahead. We're working on a couple big projects here, and I'm the kind of person that just buries my head in the sand, and then all of a sudden the conference is in 3 days, and you have to make a presentation for it. Awesome. But hopefully we'll be doing some more soon, and I'll be able to get out and about and see some lovely faces and give maybe another presentation or two later this year as well.
Great. Well, whatever big projects you got going on, we would love to have you back to talk about them when they are awesome and doing well, as I'm sure they will be. Of course, you guys are always doing really cutting edge, really good stuff over at Ithaca. So I welcome you back anytime, Rob.
Yeah, I look forward to watching this back and hearing all the words that I didn't hear during any of this at all. It's going to be nice.
Yeah, awesome. I think you'll enjoy it. But I'm signing off. And again, thanks, Rob. We are going to be back again live next week. Same time, same place, Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I've got Jonathan Hoster coming over from Syracuse University. It's a Syracuse Love Fest this month. So Jonathan Hoster is coming on to talk about recruiting for STEM disciplines, something near and dear to my heart at my technical college. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. Hope to see you all again next week. Thanks all.